Finance Committee's Thursday night, May 11th meeting. We have a couple of leftovers. Hey, let's please get quiet in the audience. We have a couple leftover pieces for tonight. Education is back with us tonight. I think they met Tuesday night this week and have hatched this thing back ready to go for us. So it's been in your hands since Tuesday, since Wednesday morning. I think it's when Ms. Amy got it to us sometime. I saw an email at that time about it. So it's in your hands here again. We'll start with a 141. As I've Dr. Satterfield, would you anything in here you want to point out to us?
Do they have the updated budget?
Yes, sir.
Before them? Which your pronounced a little bit different from mine. I'll try to speak the same language. The board met last Tuesday, and they unanimously voted to send this budget back. The issue was that it wasn't an official board approved budget in the sense that I made a clerical error on the revenue coming in. So if you'll go over to page 2, and if you'll look at the revenue on the state of Tennessee, that amount coming in on 46,510, Tennessee Investment and Student Achievement is $10,174,516.
I page 3.
Sorry, your page 3.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And that reflects about $978,516 more than was in the previous year from the BDP, which was $9,169,000. So that was where the change is. You saw that when I first met with you last week. The board had not. So that's one of the things that had to change. If you'll go over to page 3, and that might be translate that for me
What line item?
for contributions. 48,170.
It's still on your same page 3, 48, 130.
Page 3, that was $967,500. That is the same amount that I posed to you last time we met. That is the estimated cost of the roof and the architectural fee. So that number is unchanged. What is changed is 49,100 bonds issued. That is a revenue source that was added of $1 million. The conversation that took most of our board meeting was that
What was that line item? I'm sorry.
49,100 bond issued.
Very last page. Thank you.
That is $1 million. The situation with that, may recall, this is something you and I talked
At
about.
your very last page, page 20.
That we thought we would have to do from the beginning, that the cost of what we were doing at the football stadium would be around $2 million. And that we would have to take out a loan for half of it and then pay the other half with the fund balance, leaving us with a healthier fund balance in case of emergencies and stuff. I know that somebody in the mayor's office has been talking to Kevin Kirchner.
Krasinski.
Okay, you got it. Well, anyway, Kevin is a great guy. I've worked with him many years, and I was looking to find him. And just when I was mowing last Sunday, I was saying, I need to get in touch with this guy. And so he said, we'll try to run those rates for you. And one of the things I think, Mr. Gully, correct me if I'm wrong, you had talked, y'all had said, y'all had talked to Tennessee Municipal Bond last week, and they told you a rate at 5.3 something percent.
5.37.
5.37. And then what Kevin was doing was trying to get a rate, and he has to go to different banks. And so what he did is put the 967,500 and the $1 million that we were asking for together, making that like a $1.9 million loan, and was able to actually get the interest rate down to 4.7. Got that somewhere here.
9-7.
4.797.
Yes, so which would actually help both the board and the county commission as well. So that line item changed, 49,100 bonds issued, that was added, but what it does is if you go to the very last page, which I don't think that matters what number that is, but the bottom line is by doing that, the bottom line, the estimated ending year fund balance would be 2,169,521, which leaves us in a much healthier position in case we have some unforeseen emergencies and that type of thing. And then what that does, if up at the top, I don't know what page that goes to, but if you're looking at principal on other loans. 612 principals on other loans, can you get your eye on that? Okay.
Same page 20,
Okay.
everyone.
Okay, that was formerly 272,140. We added the 100,000 to that, making that 372,140. And then the interest on loans, 613 went from 14,000 to 44,000, which was an increase of $30,000. Of course, that's $100,000 on 612, $30,000 on 613, making that $130,000 that the board would be paying in interest and principal, not the commission. The only thing that we're asking that the commission would be doing is paying for the middle school group. And I have a handout that I may try to make it simple. Looking for. I think I got enough copies here. The main as well up here. If you'll see, if you look on my budget, page 3, you can see everything that has to do with the roof. Is the revenue 48,130, that's in blue. That's 967.5. And then if you look over there, everything in blue would be that of the county.
Page 3.
If you go to my budget, page 15, regular capital outlay. 76,100, 399. That line item on the budget is $240,000. 172.5 would be that of the board. And the 67.5, which is architectural fee, would go to the county. And then if you go to, on the back page, capital outlay
Page 19.
76,100, 707. And then the elementary roof would be 900. So 67.5 and the 900 would get you back to 967.5. And that's all the county would be out. And then again, to repeat this, this is a one-time non-reoccurring expense. We did the same thing, Amy, I think last year, that we can get a resolution.
Oh,
So it doesn't count toward your maintenance of effort. And it's a non-reoccurring cost, is something you don't have to pay every year. So it's non-reoccurring.
Doesn't go towards the maintenance of effort.
You have to do a resolution on that, but we're familiar. Or Amy's office is familiar. To do a resolution, and then we send it to the State Department, they would approve it, and then get it passed by the commission.
All right. Many of you hear the proposed budget is back in front of your hands. I know that was quickly moving through quite a few pages, but the majority of the only bit of what's changed is the loan piece here that the school board is taking that 1 million portion of it as a loan now, rather than having it in their budget.
And Mr. Chairman, may I add?
Go ahead.
is the roof. You know, we were trying to get that, and I didn't bring the samples with me this evening. But we were trying to get that gray urethane recoated. It has to be recoated every 10 years to bring up the warranty of the spray foam roof. And then that's where we got into the tornado thing, the bus turned over and the applicator said it was caused by the tornado. Tennessee Risk Management, who has our insurance, had a building engineer look at it and said it wasn't. And they said it was faulty installation from the beginning, some 25 years ago. And because of that, yeah, we don't have insurance on our roof. And I asked Tennessee Risk Management this question more than once. What does that mean? And he said, I'll tell you, what it means is your building could blow down, or if you catch on fire, we would replace your building, minus the cost of the roof. But we are not going to insure your roof. So that polyurethane coat is past its usable life. And we don't have insurance on the roof. So as you know, Mr. Ford, you were instrumental in that many years ago when we put the standing seam metal roof on the middle school. And practically, it's almost the same price as it was back then. And Mr. Bill, you work in that building every day. I have not had a report in 3 years that is so much as condensated in there, has it?
No, it's done very well for us.
So it's a product that we put on top of a spray foam roof. That's what was on that middle school. We put it on, we put it back on the scene and it's been very successful for it. And it looks like it's a good bag, it's been a good bag for us for what we spent in the usefulness that we've gotten from it. So this is all just like the one you see when you go by the middle school. And by putting this roof on, this would bring our warranty and our insurance back in line.
All right. Committee, here. The budget proposal in front of you.
Oh, Mr. Gull, I would like to add one other thing.
Yes, sir.
This clarity. 73,400 early education. We did add a teacher to 116 teachers of 48,605, which moved that line item from 50,534 to 106. And then it changed some of the fixed charges such as Social Security, state retirement.
Page 19.
Because we added a teacher since the last time we met.
So there was an addition. You've got some highlighted figures here on your budget where changes were made.
And that's due to a program change.
So you have a proposal piece in front of you. This takes what has been asked and puts it in front of us where the county is taking on. The only additional piece in this for the county is taking on a loan. Roughly, Mr. Dennis, you may figure this out more, but roughly 130 to 135,000 looks like that payment right now at that interest rate. I believe it was the loan that has been discussed. And Sammy, have you seen a different one had a 5-year lock? And then that past that would be.
He has not sent me the information on the 5-year lock yet, but he is researching that with other banks. And that was just for the $900,000 piece, not the 1 million,
Not putting the two together.
correct.
What would it benefit to put the two together?
The benefit of the two is, more banks are open to service that loan and get you a lower rate.
And any negatives?
We're paying a lot of money.
What the school is taking on?
School's taking on their part.
Correct. So the same 130 to 135 is the piece that I think I roughly figured. Mr. Dennis?
Dr. Sacker, the rate, the rate of 4.797, did they give you any indication of the term of, like, understanding it's 10-year term? But the amount of time that they would lock that rate, will that be a 1-1 time, or will it be fixed, or?
Fixed for 5 years. They can fix it for 5 years. And I have the schedule that,
Yeah, but it doesn't go back.
that he sent.
Yes, sir.
And of course, this one, be both loans put together
Sure.
at 1.9, and it's a cited 4.797 at that time. So that's the amortization schedule for the two loans combined.
Okay.
Depends on what the rate is. They would be sharp, right?
Mr. Ford, our side of the payment is estimated to be 130 a year. Principal and interest.
And Dr. Sacker, excuse me, the number I picked up was incorrect as far as from the county standpoint, but I only missed it by $3,500. So the number that I ran was 964 at the 4.797. If you do that on a 10-year annual, the county's portion, if it's an annual payment, would be, of course, this is going to be slightly wrong, but $121,551.96. If there is not prepayment penalties or anything like that associated with that, even if we did a 10-year term, and paid it like an 8-year term, the annual expense to the county is roughly, and this is year one, would be 145, 334, 50. I mean, there's a difference of about $20,000 a year with the interest savings, if there is no prepayment penalty on that piece. To do a 10-year term, but to try to pay it in 8 saves the county $50,000 in interest. And that's a $30,000 difference of interest you didn't pay versus you would have paid over the last 2 years.
This is the quote you give us is a 5-year quote, and don't want that like that, is that right?
That's correct.
When it comes to this.
And they didn't give you any indication of would there be caps associated with this 5 loan, like any guarantees that. Okay, so your rate for 5 years is 4.797. In year 6, we're going to reprice that. We're going to put you a cap in there saying that this rate only increases 3% or something like that, no more than 3%. Is that something that can be negotiated on this deal?
I don't know. I spent about 10 minutes on the phone with him. I got that sheet. We never talked about the word cap anytime. What I understood was that they could fix the loan for 5 years. It could be a 10-year loan or 12-year loan or 8-year loan. But they would only guarantee that interest for 5 years, and at that point it'd have to be reset.
Sure, and so it'd be repriced, but see, what I'm saying is, if there is no cap, the way prime has moved in the last 6 months to a year, that number could very well be 8 or 9% for the last 5 years of that loan. Depending on what the market continues to do.
And you can't defend like.
But you can't, if I had a crystal ball, Yeah.
Sure.
But the only way you get 4-7 is to tie school to 900. If y'all take the 900, then you're gonna have 5-3. And it's one. Because
5 years.
there's original.
Anyway, but the reason why we got the lower is because we combined the 1,900,000.
I got
It was the amount,
Yeah.
not the reason.
I'm assuming.
I got
they
the
already
but the
got
5 years only.
quote on the roof, right?
Yes.
It was for anything above $1 million,
The 5.37.
As we go figure.
anything below.
Okay.
What was that?
I would have to get a.
The 5.37 we will discuss. Hey,
We also got one.
I'm sorry,
The right.
it's from Tennessee Municipal Bond Fund.
Yes, sir.
the 5.37 we were discussing is also originally is only locked for 5 years as well, what we were talking about.
Correct, and that's only your 9,
That's correct.
you know, and the reason you don't get the 4-7 is add a million to it.
That's correct.
Correct.
But what I was saying, it wasn't because of the schools, it was the amount. So anything below $1 million.
I know, but the only way you're gonna get it is through the school.
Oh, the way I heard you, I'm sorry, it was just a misunderstanding on my part.
We all clear?
I'm scared of something we can't put off, but we'll take care of our bill, all of our buildings. I'm gonna make a motion that we take it under this, setup he's got right here, it's 497 for 5 years. We've got to protect our buildings and take care of it, all of them now. If you wait till it starts leaking in there and tears it up all on the inside, then you're looking at a whole lot of money.
I'll second that motion.
Have a motion and second to accept the proposed budget in front of us. That would be the county taking on the portion of the roof at $967,000 on a quote right now. We'll see where that falls. I think that quote is a little old, if I heard.
November.
It's November, so that will be a new quote on that.
But Mr. Good, may I also add, Mr. Ford, we had a side conversation in a second ago, he was asking the same question. When we asked for a new quote in November, it was the same quote we had in June. I don't know what that means, but it looks like it leveled out.
That's still something we'll have to figure out when that quote comes in. Yes, sir.
We're not getting what you made it one day. I know it.
So at that point, we do have a motion and a second to accept this move going forward.
I have a new question. Is the 67.5 included in that debt, or is that a separate thing that we need to look at?
The 967.5 was included as in the motion. That is including the architectural fees as well as for the roof architectural fees that the county is taking on all portions of the roof.
So that 67.5 is in the debt and it's not a separate amount.
That's correct.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just one more question. Only thing that said there that jumps out at me right here that there was confused about is this has a 3-year draw. feature. So the funds will be set up as like a credit line, correct?
Yes,
And you only pay interest on the work that's done when the invoices come in.
yes, he explained that to me, that's like, getting construction. loan.
But rather than get the construction loan and then having to roll it into a different form of loan and paying the costs. This is going to serve the purpose of 2 loans, correct? They'll give you a credit limit of the 1.9.
Yes,
A 3-year period, you can project complete.
yes,
And then once your project's completed, that rate is guaranteed for 5 years, but it's. Is the longest straight payout. I mean, will we be done? If we contribute annual payment, will we be back at 0 in 10 years if we make the annual payment to that? Or I mean, I don't want to get us into a situation where we're only paying the interest during the construction process of it. And then we have a line that's maxed out, and we're 3 years deep into a 5-year fixed note. And now we've got 7 years to figure it out. See what I'm saying? To get it paid for. That's the only thing, and I'm not familiar with this type of loan. Just
He explained,
perfectly honest.
he explained to me it was like a construction loan. You'd only draw what you needed at that moment.
As you knew,
Yes, sir.
And then it's 5 years.
that's what most
The
of them.
question is, the 5 years beginning, once it's done, that 5 year long. That's what you want to know.
You're not being able to pay it off, that's 5 years on the board. They're trying to come in.
I think the question you've asked is one that we need to have an understanding of going forward as well.
Knowing the ins and outs of the term of the note and what's going to be expected, I think that's a lot of money, and we better make sure we know where all the pieces are leaving inside of that.
But you can secure your loan from anybody you want. I mean, you can work out the financials with any loan company you want to. I mean, you don't have to do it with Tennessee Municipal Bond, and you can negotiate different options, right?
Yes, sir, I would assume so. But that rate that he's provided you is found in the market that we're in. I'd just be very interested. I'd be very interested to know what the A1 schedule actually looks like, so that we get to 0 in 10 years.
What about the other sheet that I gave you?
Yes, when you get those lines, it's one of the draws, so that's start in the 5 years. Or in 5 years, gonna start when the project will be complete and drawn.
You want to see the answer to the phone? You say.
Yeah.
See me one time. I will. And it is going well. Listen, I am in a county budget and finance meeting. I am looking at the budget and finance. Okay, and they've got, and I've got this guy, his name is Will, he's a banker too, you know what I'm saying? And he's talking language, he's talking your language, so I'm gonna put him on the speakerphone and let him ask you his question out of there. Okay, here you go.
Let's please remain.
Kid, Will Kid, there you go.
Hello, Kevin. Well, how are you? I'm well, sir. The question that I have, Kevin, seems like the term here is, it's got a 3-year draw period. I'm assuming that the guaranteed rate of the 4.797 is the clock is ticking on the construction period of that loan, correct?
5 years. So while the construction's undergoing, you're locked in at that rate of 4.797.
Right.
And then once the 3-year construction period is over, that rate continues as is for the next 2 years. And then the schedule, known as the scheduled termination date where they get to revisit the rate.
Yes, sir. I'm understanding the way I thought it was. One additional question is, How will that loan be repriced in year six?
Market rate at that time, so, it would be dependent on the bank return rate, I believe. It's 100 and, I think it's 90 days prior to the, rate adjustment date. The bank will return a rate to us, and then we would go to you guys and say, okay, are you good with this rate? And if not, there would be opportunities to refinance to other options, and we would try other banks.
So this initial 10-year term, there's not a cap in it. It reprices to the market period, correct?
We have, we would read it, of course, we have a network of banks, that we, if it's being, like, if somebody comes back to us that it's unreasonable request, then, of course, we take it out to other banks and say, hey, this isn't right, but it will be subject to whatever the market rate at that time is.
Kevin, I understand.
You're very, absolutely, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Kevin, thank you for working late out.
Yeah, anything you need, sir, just let me know.
Okay, thank you, sir. Have a good evening. Yes, sir.
So our annual schedule would not, unless we pay 244, 143 annually, starting from when we start. This loan will not hit zero in 10 years.
What you're stating is we need to pay on it even though we hadn't built it at that point. Continue that we're agreeing we're gonna pay this rate. We're starting year one, even though we haven't built the pieces.
Even though we may or may not have drawn that line up.
Yes,
That amount of money needs to be set aside. If we try to get this to zero in 10 years.
yes. We need to pay the full payment even though the
This
money hasn't been pulled out.
Yes, this annual schedule is correct, assuming that the whole 1.9 is fully funded. And I appreciate the function where they're going to give us a 3-year draw period because we can't snap our fingers and this big deal. But to ever pay this off in 10 years, if that's the plan of the school board and the county, then we, between the two, which you, Dr. Sutherland, you said your portion is 130. I had ours at about 120. That's 250. So we're right on the mark to get it paid and be done in 10 years. But just when the invoice comes in and says, hey, y'all only owe $45,000 this year, we need to pay $250.
So in this motion, the school board is stating they're paying that 130 per year, no matter what they're drawn. The county stating they're gonna pay their portion, hopefully even, Mr. Dennis, I think even discussed an option of paying a little extra to try to hopefully get to a point of, I think you put a number around 150, close, not complete, but would put us in maybe 8 years on the county's version of that debt back.
And that would be, that's not the total debt, that's just the county's piece.
Yes, the county's portion of the debt back is correct. Mr. Ford, you still go with your motion?
Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, we have a motion and second to accept this with a favorable recommendation as it is written. With the county accepting the cost of the elementary school roof project. That roof project is going to be changed to look similar to that of the middle school's roof. Very similar. All right, is everybody clear? Any more discussion before we vote? If not, all those in favor of the motion as if a favorable recommendation, let it be known by stating aye. So all members, that is favorable. Thank you. Thanks, sir.
Oh, thank y'all very much.
It will move to the county as a favorable recommendation.
For yours. Well, they didn't have insurance issues.
I'm sorry, history. Yes.
Gracefully.
Is it? I see the files there. That's what we're talking about. Guys, we will, I'm looking at the 151, because we're gonna have to take on some debt. We'll move that to our agenda for Monday night, since we've looked at taking on debt. We'll put that on budget, for Monday night before work session. Somewhere in the neighborhood of about 4 cents or so, is what that's gonna be talking about, that we need to look into. So, we need to discuss that Monday night. So just thinking about that 151 and that debt for Monday night. All right, we will move into our additional pieces. Mr. Tommy's here with the McFarland with the water department. If you can find, I can dig through here and find my water department. Your water department, if you can find it, you should have about a 3-page water department. Budget line out laid out for you, starting with 4,300 account.
What page is that on?
It's actually a separate set by itself. It's 3 pages. Says Hartsville Water and Sewer proposed statement or purpose operation statement of proposed operations for the water and sewer. It was laying on our table there last 2 nights ago.
It was in your paper clip now. It's not mine.
Tuesday night, yeah, it was laying in our packet last.
Should have put it. Oh, no.
Yeah, Bubba wins.
Wait a minute. No. Got
It
mine.
was laying in your,
I got it.
on your table last night after the budget and finance, after the water department met the night before. I appreciate you moving through the paperwork. Here's our next property. Is it? It's time, years, it looks a little bit. Looking forward.
Tommy's like, I got my papers. I
All right. In front of you now, everyone has the water and sewer department budget, proposed budget here in front of us. Mr. Tommy, anything you want to present to us up front, just discuss what's in front of us here?
Yeah, it's, there's no rate increase involved in this, other than a 2% we always figured from Doug in their budget.
So there's no increase to the rate.
We did, all our employees met their evaluation and they received their raise 2.35. We, just some items that we've had some increases in costs, you know, for everybody having materials are up. We have one line item, I know some people ask us, we hired an extra full-time employee in the office, and eventually we'll have some retirees in the future. Anybody that's hired to take the place of the office manager one of these days. But we may not always hire back the full, maybe just be part-time folks, we might be able to contribute later.
So how many employees would that put you in the office?
I got 2 full-time and 2 part-time. And then we have the bookkeeper. Three full-time, I'm sorry.
So you have 3 full-time and 2 part-time? Or is it 3 full-time?
I'm sorry, it's One of them with
3 and 1.
three, yes.
Okay. I was just making sure that that was what's stated on the papers.
I noticed your overtime, the 187 greatly increased this year. Actual 2021, 2022 was $75,000, whereas this year it's 118,000. Very heavy increase, and
Well, that's an estimation on that. We calculate that through a calculation, it's not a real number.
agree, but it's estimated to be at that amount.
And that's how it calculated out to be estimated. It won't be there.
We're pretty close to the end of the year.
Well, I mean, it's estimated.
Okay.
We'll be close to it. We do our own, we've been doing these hydrant projects, replacements, those things are in there involved. That's our things we're doing with, we've been doing some pump rehabs. We've about rehabbed all the service stations that were Sam Beasley. We've been doing some of that on our own, our contractor, been playing with them, fixing all these things. We probably got in about 85 fire hydrants. And some of my budget is down lower when we have some higher items in volume on materials. That's why I bought hydrants up that before they went up. They went up 45% March this year.
Things seem to be doing that.
So we bought through the year, we bought them in pieces and we've got 101 on the yard that we're gonna finish, that will finish up here in town. And all the older models that don't, they're all oddball models. Would get us all one model, it can be maintenance very easily. You can use a ratchet and a socket to take them apart. They're very easy to be, same parts fit all of them. You don't have to worry about parts, they all match. Even through the years, they're all the same, no matter if it's a 10-year-old hydrant or a 20 or 30-year-old hydrant, or even this model year, they all fit, every part fits for the year, so it's very easy to take care of and maintain. So that's what we're putting in the system. So some of those funds are up, we're going to spend that money next year, so you see that decrease in those line items. Some of the things we've been doing too, we spent about $75,000 on the camera in the sewer system. But we want that in place when we get, we're getting some money through ARPA to put some monitoring systems in the manholes that help you find out where the brainwater is infiltrating the system. And with that data and with the camera data, that opens us up to go find a project, commit to CDBG, and we'll have a good chance of getting that money because we need the data to get it. That's pieces we've been working on. And some of the overtime we have is because of that, but we try to stay within our budgeted limits. We do the best to stay in it. And some of those projects we capitalize. So even the employees' time is capitalized into that project. So we kind of get some of that done.
Yes, sir.
Replacing and getting everything within city limits. One item where it's usually maintained. I understand. The hydrants that you pull out, they're not necessarily all correct.
Some of them not.
Could there be any plan put in place to make them use some of those older hydrants out in the county in your more rural areas to kind of help those folks out?
Not now. They've been sold. We sold them on the other. We just, no, not them. We did sell them. Well, we tried to sell them on the other, but it made that. We made 3 times the money selling on the. We did sell them. We might could, but the issue there is, once we get this done in time, I'll still have some stock to do that. And we can start moving forward in investing in the outer areas. What your ISO rating is more effective here. So we're trying to get all that working. It'll help your ISO rating. I know somebody mentioned why the ISO rating is that up, if your insurance rating. The flow test data we have is different from what was given to them years ago. And I hate to tell you, it was highly wrong. And the system cannot do what they showed it could do. I don't know where that data come from, but Because the system is not able to flow some of those flows, this system has to flow. You have to have a 12-inch line all over the tank to get the kind of flows that they estimate they had, or say they had. We've not seen that in the test. We've been doing those annual tests every year, so that'll help your eyes, so we've been doing that every year. We're doing now. And we do it, we've been on a program ever since the board voted us to do, make sure we do them every year. But we are in the process of flow testing.
Mr. Dennis, that answers your question.
Mr. Dennis, just one more thing, say, we want to keep that. We want to buy those kind of hydrants for our maintenance purposes. We just make it so simple, because you can have one of those apart in 20 minutes and back together and grease it and do everything you do to maintenance. It's very simple to do. We don't have the tools for all those older brands that you're talking about, because they're a tool set for an older hydrant like built in the system like a Mula. It could cost, $2,500 a set. And they don't have the same set, ain't good for all the years. Sure. So you'd have to buy a lot more tools to fix those. So we're trying to rotate this one brand. But our goal is to get out, once we get this done, and keep moving forward and extending out into a way. Just for y'all's knowledge, we have 2 trucks that depreciated out, or going to depreciate out. Excavators depreciating out, we're going to purchase those back. That's in that depreciation line. And we were buying one new piece of equipment that we've not had in about 3 or 4 years. I'm told we never replaced it. But it's something you use in the sewer system to clean the lines and get the roof out of it. We don't have a machine to do that. I've had to pay a gentleman to come and do that for us in emergencies. $2,500 a shot. And I've done it like 4 times, so I can buy the machine for around 67,000. And we've got it for emergencies. We've had people sewer backed up because we couldn't get the roofs out. And we had to get this guy in an emergency to come out and do it, but we can do that ourselves with this machine. And it'll help us also to clean it and help us do our camera and everything.
Any other questions in the budget here? We have a motion and a second for a favorable recommendation. Any other discussion? All right. If not, all those in favor of the favorable recommendation as stated, let it be known by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is favorable. Thank you, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you.
I was just about to say, we already have that.
You wanted to look over 121. What's supposed to be fine.
In and out one.
Mhm. I'm just to clarify all items.
Look, 121.
No, I
Oh.
mean, I'm fine with it. I'm just saying we have not went over it,
Okay.
so I just don't want us to forget it.
Let's look at the 121.
It's got a tab.
It's got a tab on it, little light
Just
green.
in and out. I just know.
This is where the county handles that money coming in, goes to, this is not county's dollars, truthfully, this is just where we handle that fee, that the money that goes to Tennessee, through the Fort Civic. Any discussion here?
I do have a side note.
I know.
Would do.
Well, this is just, like I said, a side note. Who does the actual contracting
between the county and Core City. Is that done like the mayor,
That is, with the mayor and Jerry Langford is normally involved in them.
Okay. I would like for us to see if we couldn't increase that,
Increase, which part?
their contribution to the county.
It's starting to have a cost for the county that's pretty heavy.
Right.
Are you talking about their initial one or the 300,000?
The 300,000, I would like to see that increased, if at all possible.
We're hoping the sheriff's gonna give us more, and more figures at the extra money it's costing them. And.
Thank you.
All right, any discussion on this? Otherwise,
Yeah, okay.
you want to make a recommendation for favorable?
I
It
will.
doesn't really need, but you take favorable recommendation and it's seconded. All those in favor, let it know by stating aye. Aye, it is favorable.
Just didn't want us to leave one out.
We've been pretty thorough. Let's continue. I think that brings us back, if I'm looking at our missings, I think we're back at planning. Page 11 of your 101. I believe that brings us back to page 11 of our 101 on one of our missing and undone budgets.
I stuck around as chairman of the planning committee, and you guys. I could help you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Kirk. Page 11.
One down. What affected that is the job description for both the building inspector. And then it has a suggested job title of the office manager for building control. Just to give you an idea of the essential functions of the job of that position and how much knowledge that needs to be accompanied with that role. If you notice on the building inspector, all of the things that are highlighted in yellow are the ones that are additional job functions that I'm currently doing, and the pink are the functions that I have been doing prior to my start.
I would, Ms. Rosalie, I appreciate what you're doing and the job that you're doing, and I understand you're taking on a position at this point that is unfilled. You're an office manager that has an unfilled building inspector at this point. That's the position you truly are, is an office manager. That's the job that was hired there. At this point, with that being the case, the job description there is office manager. We're looking at that line item of office manager 106. Seemed to be the biggest discussion the other night. I think keeping with clerical personnel of other line items, 106 of other pieces, that line item runs about this year, 34,000, right under $35,000, keeping those in line. I would entertain discussion around the line 106 there.
Also from the other night, the suggestion of a bonus or a salary supplement was made instead of increasing her rate, just adding something to her for these extra responsibilities. I passed around a sheet showing a proposed amount of 20% of her annual salary. And for both this year and for next year. This year, it's based on 5 months. The transition happened in March of 2023. So that's would be from March through June, and that would be the amount of 2750. Thank you very much, because I can't read my own hand. 2750 for this year. That could be paid out in a lump sum before June 30th. And then for next year, 20% of the budget amount that we adjusted the other night. And that would be 6,775 overall, or the quarterly payments of 1,695 until the decision was made on how that office would be.
This would be like a stipend. This is not a raise. This is
Correct.
a stipend for while the building inspector position is.
Correct.
Can I ask, I want to ask a question here. I understand the building inspector position is empty, but we are contracted with 2 individuals that are coming and taking those on. We're actually contracted with one, Lynn McHenry, if I'm understanding that correctly. And then Scott, I keep hearing his name, I think from Macon County is coming down to do some of this work as well. But you're handling the office side of this. Why is there work outside of there if we're working with Lynn? In other words, why, you said you were going and doing this at these places, and this at these places. Why are we going to these places when Lynn is the building inspector we are using right now?
His availability is only on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that's not always, that doesn't keep the wheels of progress turning as it due to weather, as in the rain. In fact, I went and did a footer inspection this morning and talked with Lynn about that. And he's passed on that. So I have some knowledge that I'm able to do that. So Tuesdays and Thursdays is not gonna to be that restricted. It's very difficult.
So who is signing off on these footer inspections, Mr. Oberlin?
One more time.
Who is signing off on these inspections? Is he signing off on them, or are you signing off on them?
I'm signing off on him, on them with his authority. So he knows, and when he says, yes, that's good, I sign off on it, and I put down who approved it.
But you are the one that is inspecting and not him, correct?
And I give him knowledge and the detail about everything. With footers, it's a lot easier to describe. I don't go
I
into
understand.
records. Pardon me?
I understand the footer process.
Mhm.
Aren't you taking photos?
And I'm again taking pictures and documentation. And this I include video files. But you're welcome to come and inspect.
Ms. Oakley, I don't think I don't want you to hear this from me. I'm not in question of what you're doing there. I'm trying to understand why we're making those choices when it is a position of
Right.
clerical personnel for in the office. I appreciate you taking the pieces to move out, and I understand that our contractors are at a disadvantage right now with that piece.
Yes.
He's only available on Tuesday and Thursday, but Scott's available some other days.
This week, Scott's on vacation.
Understand?
I just don't want you getting in a circumstance that it comes back to haunt you with, is my point.
Understand?
We're at line item 106. As I stated, somewhere right under $35,000 is what most of those positions, line item 106, are staying consistent with the county. Clerical personnel, office manager.
Mr. Chairman,
We went through this last year.
Sir,
We went through this last year.
we did.
There's 3 of us, 4 of the 7 year went through that wage and hour study and lined us up 6 different counties. And we was right in line.
Correct. We put it at those steps that were expected. That's where you saw the move from 26,000 some change to the
Exactly.
33,000 some change. The 34,
Something another over 6,000. Did from 33 to 39, 720. 37.
And the other night you adjusted it back down to 33,860.
I'm sorry,
The other night y'all adjusted that salary item back down to 33,860.
that's what I thought.
Which was 2% greater than the 33,000. That was line item there, correct? Keeping that in line with the 2.5% raises, correct?
Correct.
I don't have that written down. I was wondering where you got this 38,660, because we never, or 33,860, I don't know that we ever finalized anything there. I didn't write anything down here, so
I didn't have anything.
I have
like that.
nothing saying that we make that move.
The adjustment is 33,860.
860.
Yes, sir.
That would be 2%, 2.5%, staying with the 2.5% step in this case is the way we term that. That is expected there. Mr. Mayor, you want to speak?
I was just gonna say that during, prior to Mr. Edwards leaving, Ms. Meyer was carrying a lion's share of responsibility in the office. And she had performed admirably since that time. Actually doing, speak for the book, her job in front of the inspection and going out on site. I think she did an award for that effort.
You get certified, they can. You are getting overtime too, when you work over. Come into the meeting and sit over in your office, right?
Are there any other discussions in these line items? That is correcting the 106 to $33,860. That is 2.5% above where the numbers, as the step increases have stated.
We have a big jump in posting and zoning changes in public hearings, $7,000 jump in there.
I'm thinking that is because of the new ordinance that is in place so that we have to, he is speaking on 332. That's because we have to put out signage and those pieces, is that correct?
Seems like the prices for doing public hearing notices have greatly increased. Even though now that we've only gone down to one public hearing, and you'll be able to see we've got our very first rezoning sign out. It's still gonna be,
There's a lot of property coming through the courtroom to be rezoned.
yes. And we also have signs for site plan approvals, changing plan amendments, they all need to have signed and documentation.
Are you using your own vehicle when you're going out?
No, sir.
We have to be,
Yes,
That's-
I'm using the truck,
That's-
so that they know I'm official and,
What I wanted to hear.
and I'm not that stranger who's coming to their yard.
That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you, ma'am.
You're very welcome.
So you go to the planning meetings on the Monday nights?
I sure do.
You prefer lunch and.
I'm
She
sorry.
prepared all the paperwork and everything for all of the meetings.
That's-
Had it for some time.
That's actually in the job description.
And I also attend the codes and zoning meetings as well.
But you get overtime.
I do.
All right, any other line items to discuss? I know we discussed the other night, the GNRC increases, and that was that discussion about the fact that we're paying state inspectors at this time.
I assume that line item 471 is. Yeah,
471,
471, if I recall, is the process of like the iPads basically being able to do the software
Yes, the permitting software and also the inspection sheet so that you're able to go.
It should cut out on paper copy. I'll get it right.
Absolutely.
Copies and
Yes.
printing and stuff where whoever the customer is, they can actually print those.
And then also notification on whether or not they passed inspections and if there's any problems and what they are.
So that will be an annual fee, 14,000.
Mhm.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dennis.
Forgive me if I ask you a question, I don't know, it's in my notes and I can't remember, I think the answer is no. Open things and public hearings. You know, we did those rate increases for the services. But I didn't see anything necessarily in the revenues. We offset with those fees that are coming in to the office with the revenues, yeah.
You know, that is not included in the revenues because it was such a new item.
It's just
Yeah,
recently started.
we went from $100 fee to quite a bit change, steps of pieces. in.
Right, so
Yes.
it's really easy to swallow, knowing we got additional funds coming in.
Yes, sir. We understood that the laptop is a necessity for this office and the other as well, and that one set, 719. That new laptop and tablet are necessities. Are there any other discussions in this proposed budget?
I mean, we discussed the other night, come back in front of us to try to see if she did need like a bonus or something. I was sort of recommending 2750 for this, I mean, that salary, something. So, I mean, I think that'd be pretty fair. What do you recommend? I mean, Mayor, you said you thought she needed.
What were the 2 years?
Well, that's for both years. That's for this current year and for next year. I do also have percentages from 5 up to 25 if you wanted to change the percentage.
I would recommend for the extra responsibility she's had to take on, spare.
The 2750, that's where she done so.
You're looking at just this one, not that.
Yeah, I would look at that.
He's looking at the top figure.
2750.
Well, that would be just for this year,
Yeah.
and then the 6,000 would be budgeted for next year. But that would stop if the planning office reorganized.
Big recommendations. We should make.
Mr. Diddy?
I was. 2750 as a bonus and let that be it.
We have a recommendation. Is that to approve this budget with
The
the
2750
as a bonus,
Yes, portion's already
For-
done so far.
the extras? So that is approval of this fund, the 51,720 planning on your page 11 with the additional bonus payment of $2,750 for going above and beyond in this position while the building inspector is vacant.
That's what.
Do I have a second to that?
Well, second, so I'm assuming that's gonna be for your.
So we're approving this budget as is with a $2,750 bonus
As a bonus or pay overtime?
as a bonus.
Bonus.
That was what the motion was for.
You gonna get an overtime in addition to that?
Yes, sir. It's a one-time payment of $2,750.
Is that for this year or
That is for,
next year?
FY 23.
Thank you.
This is next year's budget, actually next year.
that's what I was thinking.
I think she deserves a little, I mean, for what she has had to do a little extra since she's been gone. I mean, I'm not there, and I say she has sort of one, to be honest, that's my record, that's what.
So that is for next year's budget. We're talking 2024. She's gonna get a bonus at the beginning of the year for this amount. Is that clear?
That's what
Does that work for you?
Yeah.
No, but
Why does it not?
I don't believe y'all truly understand everything that Ms. Myhan is doing. in my
I
office.
appreciate your side on that. Thank you.
Yeah.
But you can, in the budget, put a $2,750
That part I understood, yes.
in the 2024 budget. It will be paid up front. Start of the year, first paycheck. What's that, July 1st? All right. That is the motion that has been made. Favorable recommendation for this budget with line item 106 at 33,860. All other line items are staying current. And an additional $2,750 as a bonus salary, a bonus to her salary for work above and beyond due to the building inspector vacancy. All clear? Any more discussion?
You need the bottom line for that, please.
Please.
Bottom line is 138,169.
What was that again?
138,169.
That's adding to line item 188, $2,750 paid out in the July 1st check. Everyone clear? We have not fixed it. Everyone clear? I want to make sure we're there first. All those in favor? Let it be known by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is favorable. Thank you. Alright. Fine, but let me find that. We are now, I believe, moving to. Let me find, I got so much paperwork added to me lately. We are moving now, I believe the next one we have missing to be dealt with is the county mayor budget, page 8 of your 101. And we were given an additional one yesterday, I believe it was laying on your, I don't know, it's a 1 page. It says page 101 here in this case. Do you have additional copies there, Mayor?
There was a new sheet. It was in the packet that was with the water and schools last night.
On the table. On the table that you're looking at here in front of you, we're going to discuss any line item other than 103 and 524 at this time. Any line item other than 103 and 524 at this time. Oh, sorry, I hit the wrong one. Other charges, $599. I apologize. My eyes got off. Everybody clear? So do you have any questions on any line item as we're looking through this, other than the 103 line item and the 599 line item?
Would 187 not play into factor with this?
Not at this time.
Okay.
I see where you're at in that case, but it also incorporates a couple other
Yes,
personnel.
You live in the office somewhere else?
I'm moving around the corner to a larger office.
Oh, you're the one who's living.
Yes,
which office?
it's a Cliff's old office. He's moved into the health department, the old health department. I've outgrown the current office that I'm in.
What's going on in your office?
Probably HR will move across, and I don't know what will happen with the current HR office.
Not necessarily the place to talk about the other, but I do understand Mr. Salee has moved offices. I don't know when that came before us, but he has moved offices to the old health department. Any discussion on any line item? Other than the two that we've discussed right now to leave out.
But we got two full-time and host of part-time.
Miss Linda Gamble.
Linda Gammon. And she works on Thursday and Friday.
What does she do?
She takes the payroll.
So she helps with payroll, and then we have full-time, which is Renee Pridmore, that helps with payroll.
I'm sorry.
And then we have Renee, Ms. Pridmore, that does payroll.
Renee does payroll and accounts payable. Ms. Gammons comes in on Thursdays and Fridays and helps with filing and some of the accounts payable billing areas. She also works up our 1099s at year end.
Oh, you said Miss Gammon works up to 1099s?
Yes,
Miss Gammon has been there for a long time. And my approach to that has been, when she does retire, that would be on her terms, rather than retiring her. But when she does, we're gonna ask for a full-time position, because there's that much work in it.
So you took,
But not this year.
you put full-time to Renee, then the HR lady, that's the two full-time.
Correct.
All right. Any other discussions on these items?
What are the thoughts of this position on 103 going to a salary position? And not an home?
does the chair want me to step out of the room?
I'm gonna ask Mr. Thorne. You've been correct on the discussions there. Rather than, back this issue back and forth, I want to make just a few comments, and then it's the authority of this committee
Yeah.
to take what information you have and make the best decision. When I ran for mayor last year, I would give a suggestion to me that the most important position in the mayor's office was your executive assistant. When I went to look for three people that I thought would be good for that position, and there are only three people that I could really focus on in the county, and I found that we couldn't afford any of them because of the money they were making at that time. Amy is currently doing two jobs, or two job descriptions. One you'll see on that sheet, which is chief administrator, not chief administrative officer, but executive assistant, and also she's a certified county financial officer. I think that has come about because in talking with David Jenkins, Debbie's salary is supplemented by administrative fees from grants. And the last two mayors, for whatever reason, did not figure administrative fees in those grants. And so not only is she our chief financial officer, she's my executive assistant, she's also administering most of those grants. When I looked around other counties to see what that position, and actually that figure that she's put there is based on, I guess, the lowest paid elected official, but it's also the fee, and that's one. The financial officer in Smith County, base salary is 82,000. Wilson County, and this is a large county, but it's 141, and Sumner County is 177. I think we was probably a little bit aggressive to use that final figure to say for you. But I would like you to consider a significant raise for her because of the load she carried. My wife works for Chancellor Smith for the state 2 or 3 years ago, and they found out a discrepancy in the amount of money that support staff was being paid for the Attorney General's office and the judicial system. And what they came up with in order to justify the difference, Kathy at that time worked for the judicial system, was they did a 10% raise for the next 3 years to get things back in line. So I would propose, since that figure is pretty inflated there, that you would at least consider a 10% raise. 20% I know is a stretch, but I would appreciate you considering a 10% raise. And the fact that going forward, any match that we would initiate, we would include an administrative fee to offset that or add to her salary. I don't know what it costs to replace it. I would say 6 figures to bring someone in with her knowledge. It cost that to replace it. Mr. Dennis, you're aware what the market is. She has really grown in that job. And I quite frankly, I think it would take 2 positions to replace it. But if that's your decision, that's my input.
Appreciate your input.
That's you. On the other big, let's talk about this other one.
Okay,
When I became mayor, I found out I did not have any discretionary. I did not have a discretionary fund of money for the mayor to spend on things that I thought we needed to move the county forward. I'll give you 2 or 3 examples. Flowers downtown, I paid for personally. The lights downtown that you see across the court street, I paid for personally. I've had clear 3 or 4 meetings with volunteers where I provided a meal for them. I've invested somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500 of my personal money just because of the right thing to do. If that 15,000 figure scares you, you can back it up. But I talked to Mr. Gully about the fact that if you choose to allow me to do that, I would do a line by line with this committee, let you know what I'm. Sometimes there's just some things you have to move, you need to move on quickly. And another example would be if I take a consultant out to lunch, we have no funds from the mayor's office to do that. It's just a matter of good business. And I would appreciate your input on that. If you think I'm out of bounds, you can tell, that's my comment to those 2 items.
You don't have to do a whole lot of goodies, things, $10,000, $15,000.
Well, that's why I said you cut it back if you want to.
I think it should be cut back some.
We've got another issue. Another issue is the downtown curbs, which I think we're finally gonna get to. It'll take an engineer for that, and maybe some expense to do it. So, you know, that, something like that could be significant. It could be spent $2,000 or $3,000 there. And
you wouldn't spend that out of these charges,
I
okay?
could pull it out of another fund. So you want her not to say 15,000 is a reach.
So, Mr. Ford, you have,
That's put it back to them.
That's fine.
I think you'd be realistic with that. And I think you'd come here to get it if we do that.
Well, and I will tell you something else. I'm not gonna spend the county's money on but, and again, create the accountability that I'm responsible to this committee to show you where the money's gone. And I may not spend it all.
month to month, you're gonna print a report out of line item 599, here's what was spent. Is that what we're saying? You're saying month to month, you're gonna put a
Yeah.
report, here's where 599 is. I think that's clear for clear and transparent for our people. That way we know what we're talking about here going.
I mean, I'm not going to Cancun or something like that.
Busy.
Take vacation on them.
Mr. Dennis, that's in your hand, I'm sorry, I may have missed you there.
Yes, but not necessarily on the item we're discussing right now. We'll finish that.
Okay, so everybody's good there at the 10,000?
Yes.
Okay, so Moving back to 103, it sounds like that's the next one we're on discussion of currently.
I gotta talk
Miss-
about that one, I'll be honest with you. If you go back to this. ARPA funds, everybody in the county. $526,252, less than 2 years ago. And didn't have nothing to do with salary, they got a check for that, you foreknow that. Then we come back last year, hired this group to, she said it was Thompson, somebody, I thought it was at GMC, don't matter who it was. We paid them $26,000. To allow us up for some of these other counties, and the counties are Dixon, Coble, Shelbyville, Macon, Smith, and Jackson. They come back and said we were lined up. If my memory's right, we spent $268,000 last year on raises. Looking at Amy, since you talked about her, she got from 45,744 to 52,615. It's $7,000. That's a heck of a raise. Plus you just got the ARPA funds. I make you aware of the fact that we're in 23-24 budget. But when all this is compiled, we started with like $5 million, a little over that. We're gonna be lucky if we wind up with $2 million. And that ain't gonna hurt you this year. But next year and the year after, you're gonna always pay, it's gonna be looking for 2.5% increase. We can't do that every year, gentlemen. I'm just gonna do like this. If you do, you're gonna be, the taxpayers are gonna be running you with shotgun. And if you don't believe it, try.
Well,
Here's the worst thing about that. I was a county executive back years ago. And I visited every home in this county. I met a lot of elderly people. And the first thing they would say, please, if you win, don't raise my taxes, we can't pay it. And here our country's in a crisis right now. I don't know what's going to happen. 40% of the people are on Social Security. Now, there are some ways out there, some of these elderly people can get some money by going to Cindy over there. How many of them, what the qualifications are, I don't know. But someone down the road, we're going to cut this out.
oh,
It's going to tell you like this.
Mr. Ford, point well taken. There's continued increases that, and what I think you really were aiming at there is the fund balance is eating the majority of this budget we have in front of us.
It's a lot.
Is what we're talking about. I think we're a little over 2.3 million after last night's
Well, I think we.
budget piece. Correct. It's a little over 2.3.
We're starting with 5, so they're supposed to have with 1.5.
It's a little over 2.3 if I'm not mistaken right now.
That's still cutting it 60%.
I won't disagree with you, sir.
60%. I'm just being honest with you.
Remembering on one thing on that though,
The taxpayers right here.
remembering one thing on that. Your revenue stream is budgeted at 92%.
It's a little.
So there is a cushion setting. That's correct. There is a cushion setting. Yes, sir.
Because we usually collect 97%.
Well, you mentioned the,
And if I'm mistaken, somewhere in all this mess I have laying here, it's $330,000 this year. Raises,
what I was,
and everybody had a raise last year, plus they had ARPA funds given to them from the government.
we gave a pretty large
Do it.
increase. Well, if you look at last year's budget, in last year's approved budget, the 2022-2023 budget, we approved the budget with about 2.5 million setting in the fund balance a little over 2. It's 2.528,156 sitting there. It's coming in at $5,050,000 there. So we know there's some cushion opportunity. I hope it's that good of a cushion as well, but we know. Yes, sir. You're page 38. Your last year's budget was approved with a 2.5 million roughly fund balance. which is now estimated to come in at a little over 5 million. Now, we know that property taxes came in stronger this year than they were projected by far. So in other words, when we're at a little over 2.3, we're very close to the budget we budgeted last year is what I'm getting at. So back to the line item 103.
I just think it's way out of line.
Ms. Atwood asked a question. Ms. Atwood, can you rephrase that question right before Ms. Amy left out?
I was just asking, would there not be a way that we can make this a salary position instead of an hourly position?
Before, Mr. Knight, so we can.
You're good.
Before we go there. Of the overtime line item, how much of the 22,250 is heard?
It's on the back of that sheet I passed that, where it was about 15.
About 15,000.
And that, yes, and that's because, that's her best estimate, and that's because we had an HR position that was open for about 3 months. And her work was.
But, okay.
Of course, she's cut that back in this budget because we don't expect that going on, because we got that position filled.
But it didn't cut.
That's a large portion of that. 22,000. That bringing that salary to a little over 65 or 67 already.
I mean, that is getting. Hold on. I'm just saying, if we go with that figure, that is getting paid more than what our principals get paid to take care of our kids. And I know she does a lot of things, but I mean, that's just,
I haven't looked at all of this.
no whatsoever, because she's helped me greatly.
It's not the point. Point is, we're sending her out and giving her the enormous raise, even though she is a very important part of our business. And it's still, I think we'll have a hard time explaining that thing.
So we come back to the question at moving that to a salary position. Mayor, you seen,
It depends on what you set that at, because if you set it based on the overtime she had last year, you may be getting a cut.
Mr. Chairman,
currently, I want to stay right here for a minute. As we are at this figure, what is a number that you are thinking of a salary pay?
I had initially had set in my head around 65,000 as a salary pay.
It's pretty close to the overtime number.
Right. I just wanted to check my figures, but
Mayor, do you have any thoughts on that number?
You know, there are two things we're facing now because it's a changing world. You know, we've all discussed it. One is recruitment and the other is retention. And I think because it's a different world, we want to consider the issue of retention, keeping other people. I'll do that. Because I think going forward as we, and this is if our salary stays there, going forward with these grants, as we work, an administrator being them, that will offset some of this. If you choose to do it that way, or we appreciate that.
It would offset it and leave the salary at 65, and that money would come back to the bottom line of the county. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And GNRC works really hard to get those administrative fees, and they don't have any problem sliding in there, so. And that's one thing that Debbie explained to me. Of how her side of the supplement was that in the beginning is when you have to put that administrative fee in there, and we just got in a habit, like two administrators not doing that, and we let those fees get away.
Those fees could be put in offsetting this additional heaviness of the salary.
You want to move it to what?
65,000 at a salary wage. At a salary wage. Mr. Ford, this year currently, it's a little over 68,000 in total earnings, counting the bonus. I'm sorry, not the bonus, but the overtime that's been paid. The back salary. Her position, if I'm reading this correctly, $19,734, you know.
When I talked to her, she real careful, that it's back more towards 15 service.
I think the 19,734 would be the estimated ending overtime for her this year is what, if I understood that correctly. 15 is current and 19,734 is the estimated ending overtime cost. So
Does anyone else have any thoughts on that figure?
We should get 15 to 20 hours per week overtime, and overtime is running from $15,934. There's 17, that's $4,734 variation in there, which is already at 15 there.
But if she's on the 65 salary, that's salary position, there's no overtime on that, that's what she's saying. She may be making less, really, she might, she's wrong.
correct.
Well, there's a lot of those things, you don't have to be there, they all be these committees, should have their own secretaries instead of bringing her in and paying that excess money right there.
And
That's where a lot of it's coming from.
Mr. Chairman, we're doing more than Kathy, you know, comes.
Mhm.
She's not coming to us.
Yeah, you see Miss Callie White at a lot of those committee meetings as well. So as we look here at this figure in front of us, Miss Atwood has pushed a number of 65,000. The mayor mentioned that 65,000 as a salary, moving that line item to salary, not a hourly wage. A $65,000 salary, and the mayor mentioned that any grants going forward, which she would be administrating, we'd put administrative fees in front of that, which would be coming back to the county, covering part of that piece in this case. That would be an option there for us. So it might not hit us as hard as it feels, but yet Ms. Thomas gets paid what may be deserving to that piece, as the mayor is stating, believes that is more deserving of. I will come to you, Mr. Gregory.
I'm gonna decline the way this figure is going is changed what I wanted to say.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
I apologize. I want to get all that through, please.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Any discussion further on that? Discuss that, please.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Dennis.
we do take this position, turn it into a salary position. Of course, that eliminates any overtime of that position. But the question is, what are we going to tie it to? Are we going to tie this position back to the wage study going forward? As far as if there are increases year over year? Because it changes the demographic of the position. Now we call it competitive. How do you move it forward?
I agree.
Now we're gonna come back next year, we go for another $5,000.
Well, and I mean, to her defense, I have worked that 55, 60-hour week job. And the fact that she's not burning out and quit yet
Exactly.
is very impressive.
Okay, don't like the show.
And I'm, the budget she presents us right here like this is. She does an excellent job. It's self-explanatory. I mean, the paper we get her is, I mean, she does a good job.
Mr. Gregory, I will state, I don't disagree, but it's a computer Excel program.
I just wonder if we set the president right here in the morning. Later.
It seems that this position is very vital. And the work itself, load seems to be handling a lot. So, as we're looking here, the mayor has suggested that it needs a pretty heavy increase. He suggested 10 to 20% instead of the project, what's been thrown at us here. And I will say that it's thrown at us, honestly, that would hit really interestingly hard. Over around $65,000 as a salary.
Well, the position is a 34.4% increase, what he recommended.
You're talking about from 52,000 to the
73, so like,
81, 216.
I mean, even if we were to do it this year, we can still reevaluate it next year. If
I'm just telling you, all these ranges, you won't have to see.
I agree.
I know for 2 years in a row, we've been getting- I don't think we've missed but 1 year, and a 3 year in a row, but he was. Last year, everybody in the county got recertified, got a name stuck on what their job was. Many of them got good raises, even she got, if you look at her, in her, she got a good raise.
A little over, right at $7,000.
And I believe it's been 3 years in a row we've done it.
And that position was, that position was in the wage study.
That's what I'm saying, was that was in the way to study that figure we got there, and that was great.
Now, there may
You
be,
said Smith County is making 82, and they compare, I thought we was compared to Smith, it's only what the county did that way.
Well, that title is financial. She's doing both. She's doing financial officer and executive assistant. So you want to change the title just that, that's fine with me.
I don't know that our wage study had a financial. I don't know if it's in there.
If you're changing somebody's title, I mean, obviously, she's already doing the work.
Correct.
You know, some people need titles to feel good, and some don't. Honest to goodness, my thoughts on it are this. If you've got a good home, you better find it. Place to replace her from scratch. And somebody wants to come in and learn the moving pieces of this animal right here. It would be a tall task. Do I think the figure that was put on this budget was over optimistic? But with the overtime that she's made last year, if you give her a 10% raise, I think it's still in a position where you're gonna pay her $14,000 less than what she did this year. And if she's even close to burnout, again, so we might do that.
The 65,000 salary, which has been proposed, would be a 23.5% increase to this position. But that is extracting the overtime that was there. That's correct.
A lot of that could be eliminated anyway. A lot of these little committees she's on, she don't need to be the secretary. Not if what we're paying. These committees need to learn to operate on their own. They need to have a person presiding over, they need to have a secretary, keep minutes.
Well, Is Ms. White doing any of those as a part-time employee? I'm sorry, Ms. Callie White, she doing those as a part-time employee? What is that?
I don't think she takes the minutes, she just does the video.
Correct.
Yeah, she just videos.
She just video. You need somebody that can take the minute, I mean,
What this is showing me right here is we're paying them well over $100 an hour to come in.
Well, I don't know that you would remove it from her duties. If we're going to make it a salary position.
You could, you let them stick their own.
Mm-mm,
See, saying,
no. I'm sorry, I'm a secretary and it's very difficult working a full-time job trying to do
yes.
outside committee research and stuff like that and doing minutes for everybody. And I will put it out there that I'm probably ever on time getting mine turned in.
Well, we're gonna do that, we then try to find somebody out in the public to come to our meeting, a part-time position and do it for us.
The cheaper ones,
guess what I'm saying, right? You know, that things that get missed here, this would be a big responsibility. She needs to understand that we're not just trying to cut pennies here, but by making her a salaried employee, you are giving her the responsibility that she's taking on in another respect, right? To come to these after hours meetings. You know, we greatly appreciate that you work 55 and 60 hours a week, but you did make time and a half for it. We're gonna make you a salaried employee, but if you clock it out and getting 39 hours a week, that's gonna be a problem too.
Exactly.
Well put.
So, I mean.
Do you have a recommendation, it's not 55 or?
No, sir, I'm completely comfortable with the 65. It's in line with the numbers that I've jotted down right here. I just, you know, changing that job title. And we're basing it off of her 2023 performance. That performance needs to be every bit as good in 24.
Yes, sir.
With us doing it.
And it would be evaluated by our mayor. I mean, that's where that piece is, and every committee she's gonna see.
Sure.
What's that title you would like that position called?
Chief Administrative Officer.
Chief Administrative Officer. Chief Administrative Officer with a salary of 65,000, carrying those duties that have been carried by the budget director / executive assistant.
No,
Correct, that is a salary position. Those do not get overtime. I'm pretty sure of that because I spend a whole lot of time over at a school and there's no overtime. I can promise you that quick. I did come from the school a few minutes ago, or before this meeting, I should say.
You mean a few hours ago?
It may be an hour, now.
We appreciate it.
So, well, listen, that's not what we're saying here in this case. That's what the salary position comes as. So moving us back to this budget, do I hear a recommendation from this committee?
I make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve with the changes of moving line item 103, changing the title to Chief Administrative Officer at a salary of $65,000, carrying the same aspects of Budget Director and Executive Administrative Assistant. Those are the two titles that were on that one as well. That is that new job title will carry them in those parts there, moving the $599 to $10,000 instead of 15. That I do hear a motion on. Is everybody clear with the motion there? Motion of favorable recommendation with those changes. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second. Motion second. Just to keep the records here. Any more discussion? All those in favor, let me know by stating aye. Aye. It does move favorable.
He's one of them involved,
Uh-oh,
she might want to say it.
that is a possibility, but it is a position that exists. If you would.
You know, how much dollars.
I was
We've
wrong.
left her out in the cold for a while.
You got anything, maybe sitting there,
If I am clear, I believe that finishes all, a very thorough run of each and
Everything
every
on my
piece of
list
this.
is-
Listen, I know it takes some time, but I appreciate the thoroughness that this committee has taken to go through and look at each and every part of these lines. And so it is.
Chairman, and since this is referred to as the mayor's budget, I want to thank all of you for making this a lot less painful than it was last year. But we moved through quickly and I appreciate your work and your dedication and your thoroughness in analyzing this budget and getting a budget to take to the school committee. So thank you.
It's cool, it passed.
Thank you.
We get the bottom line, so what do we do?
Chief Administrative Officer. At a salary tag of 65,000. Yeah.
You live with that,
You might need to, okay, what you said, so I can remember.
Right there. That is moving that to a salary position. As I stated, I appreciate this committee and their diligence to work through this budget. I don't take budgets of anywhere lightly, and I believe that the group I'm working with, I appreciate the willingness to go the time it takes to go through it clearly through this budget.
and one other thing I missed saying earlier. I know it's a few more dollars. But we buy 7 cars, it's like we put shirts on them boys' back. On the boy coming here the other night.
You're speaking of rescue,
And we didn't do nothing with shirts, at least people know what they are.
Mr. Ford,
Find that somewhere to do
we're
that.
still in budget. Do you wish to go back to that?
I'd like this to do that.
Okay, so Mr. Ford, you want to look at the EMA budget? And I think he mentioned
Page 28.
your 101, page 28.
Page 28.
Yes, sir.
That was. No, page 28.
No, it's not.
No.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Give me a minute.
Wrong number.
It is rescue.
27.
You're right on.
Looked at the wrong one.
So that line item was the uniforms at $5,000 that had been asked for. Would you like to move that to $5,000?
Well,
We cut it to 25.
25.
I think we could have come up.
We could have.
No, Will was talking about the 25.
We left. the
Right.
Shirts.
That's correct.
That,
Leaving 5,000 to buy.
the badges and all of that,
That was correct.
exactly.
I would like, to make sure we're clear on the on the EMS budget, on the 118 last night before we clear up and clear out of here. On the 118. We. Not looking at the right 118, not do. I'm looking at the old, there it is. On the 118 budget last night, we approved with a favorable recommendation. We had scratched the $100,000 out of the 169 part-time.
Yeah,
I would like to be clear that the reason we scratched that is because currently we are not fully staffed. So there is money still to hire part-time individuals for our county. So I still want our EMS director to be looking at part-time employees filling in. I think that was the will of this committee, to understand that part-time still exists. It's just pulling that out of the salary at the 131, which is not fully staffed.
Yes.
Was that where we were at last night for everyone?
It wasn't that we said no part-time or anything like that, we just we took the $100,000 off the line item. And want him to use his medical personnel line item for the hiring of any part-time folks until he reaches a full staff.
He can pay part-time individuals out of that 131. We still want him to be able to have part-time employees,
Right.
making sure that's clear. We would love to see that movement happen, I believe. That's been discussed in EMS, that's been discussed, that's why that line item was added. We were not scrapping part-time. We were mainly stating that we would like to see part-time continue, but yet we're not fully staffed, so that line item 131 is not going to be fully used. Is everybody clear? All right, thank you all for a very thorough run of this piece. I will entertain a motion.
We have a meeting Monday night.
We have a Monday night meeting. Remember, we will need to look at debt service Monday night, 151. That'll be on our agenda. The county, we have favorably recommended the school's budget, which requires a debt roughly 967,000, I believe it was. 500 to be exact. We need to find out how we're gonna pay for that. So we need to look at debt services to get that accomplished. I think Miss Amy was a lot more, can you give us that final 101 fund balance number before we leave? I know it had gotten above 2 million last night, but I don't know exactly where they were.
It is currently sitting at 1.996369.
With last night's changes, we were about 2.3, I thought, right?
It's probably because of the work I've been doing in the estimated column today. Some of the expenses came through on the estimated column, so it adjusted your income.
Say it one more time then.
1,996,369.
So you've changed the numbers on the budget already
Just on
inside.
the estimated.
You'll have all this room, not now, anyway. You'll have it all in.
Okay.
Well, it's really not.
Well, we were about 2.3 last night when I left, so I'm trying to understand where it happened there.
Well, it's really not.
2.1, 2 point something last night, that's what I thought. Monday night's meeting will be back at the community center. 6 o'clock before work session, that's correct. Yes, sir. 6 o'clock before work session. That's what I'm talking about, budget, 6 o'clock, work session at 7. We will meet.
The train guy says we should be in the courthouse by the end of May, we're shooting for the end of June.
Yes.
I don't see how they looked at that, they must be doing a whole lot of work.
But I have watched the roll off.
Mr.
Do we need a motion to adjourn?
I would like to entertain a motion.
I will.
And motion made, Bobby on second that.
We've all.
All those in favor, get up, please.
What is there?
Oh, sorry, Donna.